This is He Knows His Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. I want to talk about Takeshi Inoue and um, Jaime Munguia. Let me explain something to you guys. I feel that those two fighters have potential to be the next great fighters in their respective weight classes and in their respective division. The last fight that they had on January 26th was an action-packed fight between the two of them. But the two of them suffer from the same problem or the same problems that previous fighters before them have suffered from. They have that come forward trade style. To me, that style does not translate into a long, successful boxing career. Remember, after all, it's the sweet science. Hit and don't get hit. If you look at their fight on January 26th, everybody wants to sit here and talk about the Manny Pacquiao versus the Adrian Broner fight. That was a snooze fest. The fight that everybody was willing to watch and was the most exciting fight was the Inoue versus the Munguia fight. Those guys were trading. They were going back and forth. For fans like me, shoot, yeah, we're jumping out of our seats because it's action-packed. But the problem is their fight has CTE written all over it, brain damage written all over it. I get it. There's certain boxing community fan bases, like the Mexican community fan base, that likes to see people trade, come forward, you know what I'm saying, and mix it up. But, I gave an example yesterday on the live stream when I was talking about Leo Santa Cruz and how he sounds brain dead. It's the same thing with Inoue, and it's the same thing with Munguia. They're trading a thin line. And that thin line is, I don't know if they're going to be able to come back from their trade style, their come forward style. I feel like that's a trainer issue. They're still young. You know what I'm saying? If they change their trainers and they get trainers that are more fundamentally sound, more technically sound, that could teach them the ones and the twos because of their youth, they can turn things around. But they're on that thin line where, it is what it is. What you see from them is what you're going to get. You might get a hybrid version of that, you know what I'm saying, or variation of that. They might get better at it. But that's exactly what you're going to get from these types of fighters. You know what I'm saying? The Inoues of the world. You know what I'm saying? The Munguias of the world. The Leo Santa Cruzes of the world. These are the type of fighters. They like to trade and they like to get hit. They take a lot of degree of punishment, but then they issue and levy out a lot of degree of punishment. When you look at the Inoue and the Munguia fight, what you saw was two guys that came out of that fight knotted the fuck up. Could you imagine how many more times if these fighters have those kind of wars, what it's going to do to their career? They're not going to last. By the time these two turn 30 years old, they will be a shell of themselves. I won't be surprised if they retire by then. So if they want to extend their boxing livelihoods, they need to learn the fundamentals. They need to learn the ones and the twos. They need to learn how to be able to slip and evade punches. But that's a trainer issue. And as long as they keep the same trainers, they're going to continue to fight the same way that they fight. Inoue has amazing power. His power is no joke. His power could take anybody out. The problem was he was just fighting that big-ass kid, Munguia. That big-ass kid has a green-eyed chin, and he could take punches. So that's why Munguia really did not get TKO stoppage in that fight. But he got beat the fuck down. Same thing for Takeshi. His ass got beat the fuck down too. What I saw in that fight was an action-packed fight, guys trading shots, but I did not see boxing fundamentals, man. I did not see guys slipping punches. I did not see guys evading punches. I just saw guys pretty much levying onslaught of punishment on one another. So these two fighters, like I said, there's a thin line between the both of them. But what you're seeing from them is what you're getting. Munguia has an issue. He's being pushed by the Mexican community fan base too fast. I feel there's too much pressure on him, especially after Mikey Garcia lost. You've been noticing this wave of these top Mexican community fighters, especially when Mikey Garcia lost, there's been extra pressure levied on them. Munguia's being pushed too much. He's fighting too much. He's too busy. I feel like with the level of punishment that he's taking, they need to slow him down. Instead of fighting 4 times a year, I'd say have his ass fight 2 to 3 times a year because he's still young. Obviously, you don't want him on the shelf, but 4 times a year is a bit too much with his boxing style. Takeshi Inoue can be special because, like I said, he has special power, but he lacks footwork. He's a bit flat-footed. That's what I noticed when I watched that fight. And I feel like he's there to be hit. You know what I'm saying? So my stock on those two guys is, do they have potential? Yes. But they need to change their camps, their trainers. They need to get trainers that will teach them something, like a Buddy McGirt. A Buddy McGirt would be good for either one of those guys. You know what I'm saying? Because he would teach them ones and twos. He would teach them fundamentals. And he would get them out of that, oh, boxing is not just about trading. Because you're not going to last, man. You take that amount of punishment, you are not going to last in your boxing career. And people are sitting here talking about Munguia. The Mexican community fan base, they sleeping on Lindolfo Delgado. He's, to me, is the best guy in that Garcia camp. I think they need to pay attention to him in the future because that dude got some serious hands. And a lot of people sleeping on that Afro Mexican dude, Nery. That boy got some skills, man. I heard this dude only had, you know what I'm saying, 9 amateur fights. I mean, and look at the way he's fighting, man. Some people are just a natural talent, man. That dude is natural. Those are the two that I think people should need to be paying attention to. A lot of people making noise about Inoue and Munguia. They need to be paying attention to those two guys. To me, those guys are going to be making a wave in the boxing community. But that's my take on it. Inoue has blazing power. He's right up there with the Tank Davises of the world. He's right up there with the Deontay Wilders when you think of power. But that's really what he got. The Triple G's of the world. Power. That otherworldly power. But he's there to be hit. And he needs to learn some boxing fundamentals. Munguia, they need to slow his roll and don't rush him too fast. I don't think he's ready for a Jamal Charlo. His ass will get whooped. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to push this narrative like he's on the same level with Canelo Alvarez. Stop the presses and pump the brakes on the nonsense. That dude is not Canelo Alvarez. He's nowhere near that level. But that's my take on those two fighters. This is Eno's The Sport. Checking out.